we'll close off the episode on a piece from Athlinks, which if you don't follow them, they're a pretty good resource on the old Twitterverse about all things transfer portal. They put out this graphic just this last week talking about the top Division II transfers, right, currently. And we've got quite a few names on here from Lenoir-Rhyne, which if you do remember, their head coach, I believe Mike Jacobs, I believe is the name, don't quote me on that, moved over to FCS Mercer. So made a big jump as far as the coaching goes. And I'm trying to remember, one of his guys did just commit over there. I don't believe it was one of the guys listed on the screen, though. But you'll see here, Jay Harris, who's a name that we talked about a lot. He's featured on the left side of that graphic. He is making his way up to Oregon. He's already there. He played and got a lot of reps in their spring game, has been in the rotation as far as that offensive backfield goes, and is going to be a really fun thing to see how they fit him into that offense and how he's utilized. Staying in that running back kind of role, Sheen Butler-Lawson right there underneath for the Mavericks. He has picked up quite a few offers. We have not seen a commitment out of him yet. We're talking about a guy who, for probably the first half to 3/4 of the season, had a really good argument for a Harlan Hill trophy. The dude was putting up phenomenal numbers. Now, trailed off a little bit at the end. I believe he battled a little bit of injuries, but the phenomenal player, phenomenal human. We've had him on the show. Definitely rooting for Sheen wherever he ends up. Excited to see that. He's a physical but all-purpose back. Very similar to Jay Harris, maybe a little bit more punishing than his Northwest Missouri State counterpart. Moving down the list, though, look at the Lenoir-Rhyne guys. Dwayne McGee, we saw a lot of him from that Lenoir-Rhyne squad. John May, Xavier Jennings, those two guys as well. Again, the portal out of Lenoir-Rhyne. You have Brooklyn Blair going from Fairmont State to, I believe that is Gardner Webb, if I got the logos correct there. Offensive lineman out of Tiffin, making the jump up to Kansas. That's something you don't see very often. Good for him. And then, surprised we don't see more of them, but a couple Notre Dame, Ohio transfers on here. They got a tight end there, and CJ going to Western Kentucky, and then Idris Lawrence, the running back, going over to Slippery Rock. Does Slippery Rock use that logo full-time now? Is that their deal? I thought it was still the S, but that line is kind of interesting. A kicker going over to Findlay. We've got O-lineman from Shepherd making the jump to Colorado State. How about a long snapper from Newberry? I believe that's SAC, going to Coastal. And then you've got Angelo State, a defensive lineman. He's making his way over to Tulsa. The wide receiver from Emporia State, Jalen. I think we've talked about him a little bit on the show. And then JVR Suggs, a defensive lineman from Grand Valley State. That's someone who I played against in high school, actually. Dude is just a big body, great at just moving other individuals, which are on the D-line, you have to do a lot of. He's got some big-time offers. Do not be surprised if he goes not only to an FBS squad, but to a legit contender, to a blue blood Power 5 type of program. Would not be surprised because he does have all those measurables. And you know what's crazy is I don't even think he's been able to really shine on that Grand Valley defensive line. You talk about the guys that have been in those shoes. He's not an edge guy, so that takes away from Christian McCarroll, Niles King, those type of talents we've seen on the edge for Grand Valley. He wasn't exactly in those positions, but we've seen some really stout defensive line play from the Lakers the last couple of years. They lose McCarroll just because of graduating. JVR jumps in the portal. I believe Niles King also in the portal. One of our D1R athletes, Jack Gilchrist, in the thick of it there in that inner defensive line. But they're going to be losing a good bit of talent defensively. And that goes to the defensive secondary and the linebacker core as well. Abe Swanson, Cole Petrito, and those kind of guys. They're losing quite a bit. It'll be interesting to see how they reload. They restock and reload on defense. But it's a pretty good list. Pretty good list here. Shout out to Athlink for the information. And we're going to be following along with these guys as they go through their process and commit to those other schools. But also just wanted to bring it up because I bash on the transfer portal a lot on this show. Admittedly, I'm a certified hater, as Kendrick might say, or Drake, or one of them. I don't know. But I can be a certified hater of the transfer portal. I like to see it in this fashion and see it in the fashion for which I believe it was intended to be used. These guys obviously all balled out at their respective schools, colleges, universities, whatever the hell you want to call it. And now they've earned themselves opportunities to go to the next level. They're not the first ones to do it. They won't be the last. There are guys that have earned those opportunities and elected to stay home and stay at their spots. Mike Jarrell might ring a bell out of Findlay. We just talked about him last episode. But the fact that these guys are able to earn those opportunities and go get themselves in a quote-unquote better situation if their goal is to make it to the National Football League or to play professional football somewhere else, for the most part, going and playing on one of these squads is going to be your best bet to get the right eyes on you, get evaluated critically, and find yourself a spot at the next level. So certainly not knocking them. Shout out to them. Congratulations to them. Just wanted to cover that really quickly. But that's all for this episode